G'day, I'm Simon Goodburn.
I'm Geoff Wilson. We're from Fifth Element Expeditions, and we're here to chat to Wild Earth today. I'll probably kick off there. We pretty much just had crap weather systems. We managed to get the big aircraft in, get our gear in, got ready to go, but then the chopper wouldn't move to get us to the start point. So we waited for 4 or 5 days. It was bloody awful.
Yeah, it was pretty mind-numbing. I think it just starts to deteriorate your mental state when you're just there wanting to go straight away, and then you're held up by the weather essentially.
And Narsar Suak it's not really a town you're on a holiday in. It's a relic of the Korean War. The hotel is like faulty towers on steroids, really eerie. So it's a town you want to get out of.
For me, it was a fascination with Fridtjof Nansen's history. And when I found out that he'd done Greenland, albeit he went east to west, I just became obsessed with it.
Yeah, I think also Greenland, they call Greenland the third pole. So in terms of Arctic or polar challenges, Greenland is equally as challenging, being that no Aussie team has ever done a south to north crossing. We've had guys ski regularly east to west, but no Aussie's ever gone south to north because it's so long. It's 2,200 to 2,500 kilometres. So you need the kites, and there's not many guys with the kite ability and the ability to travel in polar region. So we were just going in there to make sure we crossed safely, didn't lose either of us, didn't lose any hands or feet. And sort of halfway through, we started to realise we could do sub 20 days here to get consistent wind and be able to back it up day after day after day, nearly 170k per day for 7 days in a row. We came home pretty happy.
Initially, it was hard going. The southern region of Greenland's got really challenging weather, so there were moments there where we're thinking, mate, this could take us 100 days, and I think we both had kind of various concerns, but kind of once we got through that section and into the wind belt, I think we started to go, hang on, I think we can do this and do it really well.
It's a pretty tough one because you really don't have any spares. There's not even a spare set of undies. We had to look at the guys that did the 42-day crossing, and they're both incredible adventurers. So we had to look at that and go, listen, we'll be pushing pretty hard to beat these guys' time. So we've got to carry at least that amount of food. So we started with 42 days food, felt the sleds were overly heavy, so we jettisoned a week of food. But the feeling was, listen, if it looks like we're going to be 50, 60 days, we can always start rationing food, and I've had to do that before. It's not pleasant, and then halfway through we're like, wow, we've got too much food. So we started picking out the best meals and the best chocolate, eating all the good stuff.
I think gear selection is so important because you're actually trusting your gear with your life, essentially. So you need to have 100% confidence that A, it's not going to break, B, that it's going to do its job, and C, that it's going to work day after day after day. So that reliability is crucial. In a weird way, you end up actually developing an affection for your gear as it's working for you. Particularly my sleeping bag, I was just like, you know, so stoked to get into it every night. And, you know, it's the thing that's keeping you warm and safe and alive. So you actually, yeah, it's like this weird kind of relationship that you develop with it.
You know, we spend a lot of time making plans. You know, say for the polar bears, within 200 kilometres of the coast, we slept with the gun, had flares, and made sure we didn't leave open food out, that sort of thing. We'd also timed it so that we were away from the migration of the bears for a lot of the journey. The crevasse stuff was much worse than we expected. Makes your sphincter pucker looking at it. The end, as Simon's already said, was just heinous. Well, we probably only had visibility for 10 hours out of it, the most critical 5 hours through the crevasse region.
The things that didn't happen but could have happened are probably a little bit scary in hindsight as well. Like when Geoff lost a glove, that's a pretty huge thing. I nearly lost a kite. We'd probably still be there if we'd lost that kite, or Geoff could have lost a hand. So you just have to accept that there is a degree of risk. But if you spend your whole life running from it and kind of being fearful of it, then I think that's kind of ironically when things tend to go wrong. Yeah, the gear that we had was perfect. And really we can, you know, thank the time that we achieved partly because of having the right gear, and we had no breakages at all, which was probably a miracle after what we put it through, really.
We had multiple gear providers, you know, Wild Earth, Pure, Rhythm Snow Sports, Ozone Kites, all of those gear selections and people providing us gear, we'd vetted really carefully because we obviously are so aware there's no way to replace the stuff, and fixing kit in a tent environment is just not a good use of time.
For me, it was the creature comfort of the sleeping bag. I've been in bags before where you're just a little bit cold and you just don't completely get a good night's rest, and it can ruin your whole expedition because A, you don't look forward to sleep at the end of the day because you know it's going to suck, and then B, you don't actually recover. So as much as I, you know, have, you know, lovely warm thoughts about my bag, it was also, you know, responsible for helping me recover.
I always had sleeping bag envy because I had two pretty old sleeping bags, and when it was cold I slept with both of them, but I'd look over at Simon's brand new fluffy one and go, oh, it's a nice bag. So, but in terms of gear that I fell in love with, you know, two things that I've travelled with probably the last 3 journeys, my compass and my GPS. You know, obviously as a navigator, they're really close to you, and they performed incredibly, both of them. You know, the poor old sleeping bag, when you get home, it gets put in the cupboard, but the GPS and the compass are on the desk. You know where they are for the next journey.
Probably find a mentor, find someone who's done it or who's, you know, into it, and just start hitting them with questions, and then just start rolling out a plan, just one step at a time.
The wilderness doesn't give a crap whether you're a great IT guy or you can run all the tech in the world. It's a great leveler. It's very easy for people to jump past their mentor because of the tech, but there's no tech out there that replaces experience. So find an uplink and mentor in, and probably just the second thing is gear. Get a good gear provider and talk to people like Wild Earth who know their stuff, and don't sell gear that's going to break.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
mate.
us.
Look out for the film. We should have the film out September,
That'll be fun.
October.
We'll be able to do a big
Yeah,
film night.
big
with
film night.
everyone, so.
Be good fun.